Hi, I'm Dr. John, and this is your Maintenance Minute. Today we're going to have a brief conversation about planning and scheduling. And let me say a few words about that just to start with. Many of you have planners and schedulers who are the same person, but they're not really performing any planner duties. They may be doing more scheduling. In fact, my colleague Steve Gowan says what we really ought to teach, if you will, is scheduling and then planning. Because scheduling is a thing that your planner slash scheduler is probably most likely to be involved in. We're trying to fight with production to get access to the equipment to affect some sort of maintenance activity. But let's talk about planning and scheduling. And again, some of you may have a planner and a scheduler, two different people. That's fairly common in big industries like oil refineries, chemical plants. I found this to be true at universities and those kinds of institutions. So regardless, planning and scheduling, who's doing it, if it's the same person, they are two different roles actually. The planner, the job of the planner is to create what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. That's planning, what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Scheduling is when we're going to do it. And on the day of execution, and this is handled by the maintenance supervisor, the scheduling continues. It's essentially, who's actually going to do it. Let's face it, I'm only going to give the job assignment to the person who shows up for work. So planning is what to do and how to do it. Scheduling is when we're going to do it. And then on the day of execution, it's who's going to do it. Now, I want you guys, if you don't remember anything from this short video, I want you to remember this. The only reason we do planning and scheduling, the only reason we have a planner and scheduler is to increase the utilization of the workforce. On average in America, I don't know about the rest of the world, but on average in America, the average wrench time, if you will, utilization, productivity, whatever word works for you, is about 25 to 35%. If I came in and did a wrench time study, I'm probably going to find 25 to 35%. Congratulations, you're probably average. Now, world-class wrench time, or productivity, if you will, is 50 to 60%. So that doesn't seem like much, but you got to be fairly aggressive. The number one method to increase, the number one activity to increase the utilization of your workforce is planning and scheduling. Back in the old days, this is back before computers, like last century when I went to high school, right? The planner actually created what's called a job package. What was in that was everything to do the job, the work order, the procedures, the tools, the materials you needed, the equipment you needed, and the spare parts, any kind of schematics, any prints, copies of prints, everything was in that. Now, we don't give a job package or packet out to anybody anymore. It's all pretty much on a computer. Maybe you guys are using tablets or whatnot, but that information is still critical. The person who puts all that information together is the planner. Now, the planner's role is, again, to create these job packages and plans, if you will. Their purpose for doing that is to increase the utilization. And so here's what I tell a lot of my classes. If we spell out essentially all the things that the planner actually does, every single one of those activities ought to go into the service of increasing the utilization of your technicians. Everything your planner is engaged in, he or she ought to be able to say, I do this, which increases utilization by even a fraction of a percentage. What the planner does is essentially leans out all the non-value added activities that go on before a job is executed. For example, getting parts. We do that by having job kits. So the parts are already kitted. The technician doesn't have to wait at the window of the storeroom to get their parts. They just go pick up their kit. Another activity that's sort of non-value added is this getting the permits. The planner already has these permits lined up. Another one might be waiting for a supervisor to come over and sign like a hot work permit or something. Well, this is already arranged by the planner. Access to the equipment, lockout, everything is arranged by the planner prior to the job. The planner's job is to lean out all that non-value added activity essentially before the job. Now on the scheduling side, what we're doing, we're actually still operating in lean, believe it or not. We're leaning out all the, what I call the space or the white noise between jobs. Instead of a technician completing a job and then coming back to the shop and just sort of sitting there waiting for more instruction to go do another job, the technician is given 3 assignments at the toolbox talk at the beginning of the shift. Hey, Jerry, I want you to be here at 10, 2, and 4, right? These are your assignments. And I mean for the technician to move with purpose from job to the next. Now there might be space in there, of course, for breaks and lunch, and he or she may have to bring stuff back to the storeroom. So of course that is all built into the job. But the idea is they move from job to job with purpose. I mean, let's face it, our job, what we have to do is get more work done, not work harder by any means. In fact, if somebody's planning all this work for us, this work prep, if you will, it's ready for us when we get there. Once we're done with that job, finish the cleanup and the paperwork, we move on to the next job. The scheduler is the person that makes this happen by scheduling access to the equipment and possibly scheduling also some of the shared resources like man lifts or JLGs or fork trucks or those kinds of things. So the role of planning and scheduling is simply to plan what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and schedule when we're going to do it. The reason we do that is to increase, and the only reason we do it is to increase the utilization of the workforce. So if your planner and scheduler are involved in activities that do not increase the utilization of the workforce, my suggestion to you is that you find somebody else to do that. Because while your planner and scheduler is doing ladder inspections or leading contractors around or filling in for supervisors, who's actually planning? Now, we want about 95% of our work to be planned in advance, right? And so we got to have some definition of what planned actually means. And the working definition I have is the job ready to go 72 hours before we actually execute the job. If we're within that 72 hours, if we're beyond that 72 hours and beyond, that is a planned job. If we're inside of that window, that's reactive maintenance. So there's no fence sitting on this. It's 72 hours or greater, or it's 71 or 71 hours and 59 minutes before, and then that's reactive work. So we want 95% of our work to be planned. The good news is preventive maintenance and predictive maintenance is already planned maintenance, so we've kind of primed the pump already. It makes sense, doesn't it? You want the majority of your work to be planned. I think we get a better job, quality of job. I think if we think about it in advance and prepare for it in advance and talk about it in advance, I think we get a better quality. We certainly get better execution, and I think we got a smoother operation. Planning and scheduling. I enjoy an opportunity to talk to you about it, and I hope that you've enjoyed this little bit of information. I'm Dr. John, and this has been your Maintenance Minute.